Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and in this episode, I'm going to walk you through my process of creating subtitles for my latest feature film, A Bogota Trip. And this is a process that I use that was designed to be cheap. Now, in being cheap, it is a little bit time consuming, right? So you're essentially sacrificing your time to save money. And normally to get a good caption made and so forth for your movie, it's going to be in the hundreds of dollars range, if not 1,000, depending on what service you use. And so instead, what I'm using is a transcription service, in this case descript, to load in my audio file and have it automatically transcribe the movie for me. And you can do this through rev.com as well as other online transcription services that you would pay maybe like $15, $20, give or take, a lot cheaper, right? So I've gone and created the project name here, right? So the movie's called Bogota Trip, so I'm going in and creating that file name. And once I have that, I create the project, right? So this is where I can drag and drop the file. And what I'm doing is just loading in the dialogue stem, right? That way there's no music associated with it. It's just the dialogue clean in that way. And it can detect speakers normally, but there's so many because it's a movie that it's not going to be able to do that. Anyway, so here's the movie loaded up. Now, you're not familiar with the movie, but there's a lot of, mistakes, right? And that's okay. This is just to get us close enough where we can then revise it. So I'm going to go ahead and export this out, and I'm going to create a subtitle file, right? So I'm going in and exporting this, and I'm saving it, and voila, that's basically it, right? Now I have the common format for the subtitles. So what I'm going to do now is open up, I use Subtitle Edit Pro. You can use any number of services, and there's a lot of free ones out there. But what I've done is I've imported that subtitle file, and there it's loaded the captions in there that were created in Descript. Now I'm also going to import the video, right? So basically I can have that in there and follow along and basically, make sure that the captions are correct and, revise them as necessary or add in sound effects because, this wouldn't have added in sound effects, music cues, and all of that stuff. So now I've got the video loaded in along with the original captions, right? So here we are at the beginning of the movie, and there's various sounds there, but it's not accounted for in the captions. So very easily, I'm going to go ahead and create a new timecode section, and I'm going to place in the sound effect, right? And then I'm going to continue on doing the same for everything. By the way, this program itself and all the other ones that I've seen are very intuitive, right? And so it becomes very simple to use and create these subtitles. Now, if you just also search online for like the standard rules of captions / subtitles, it'll give you plenty of options so you can see why I'm making italics for certain versions and when I'm putting in brackets and so forth, right? So there's plenty of guides that give you the rules of what you need to do with captions. And so, just look that up and that'll help you. Now, essentially, what I did was I did a couple of passes. I did one where I created everything from the start, from start to finish. And so I added in the stuff that wasn't there, such as the sound effects and the music cues. I touched up anything, dialogue-wise that was already there but was inaccurate. And then I did a second pass at it, right? So that was my main thing, was once I'd gone through it once, I went back in and revised it to make sure that everything was indeed correct. I tightened up certain things as needed or closed some gaps as needed. Maybe as I was seeing the dialogue, I figured out a better way to place it, right? If it was 2 lines of captions, making sure it was readable better. Likewise, certain lines of dialogue staying on screen long enough so that way people can process them. Just all these kind of considerations so that way whoever was using the subtitles can have a good experience with it. And honestly, the hardest part was fretting over the adjectives used to describe the various music cues, because I wanted people to be immersed in it and have an understanding of, what was happening, even just musically, right? So I went through the entire film, and when everything was done, I then was able to export out all of this as the final files, right? So I just go ahead and click SRT file, and the beautiful thing about this version is that gives me the ability of like, hey, here's a couple of errors that you need to fix, right? So it essentially quality checks for me. And so, I was able to go in and adjust the errors that were there, and it'll tell you what those errors are. So it becomes relatively easy of a process. And then once you have all of that fixed up, you can then begin to export out the file, right? So that's what I'm doing right here is I've created, I've clicked export SRT file, and then I'm just labeling it properly. And you can also export it out as other formats that you would need, right? So in this case, I'm going to File, and I'm able to select the various options that I would like to export it as, right? And so it allows me to do that. And so I'm exporting out all the various options so that way people can have them as necessary. And that's basically it. So good luck with your movie. Hope this helps. And as always, if you have any questions or recommendations of your own, comment down below.